Hello, investors. It's Don Vandenbord, Chief Investment Officer with Revere Asset Management. Today is Monday, September 8th, 5:27 p.m. Eastern Time, coming to you from St. Augustine Beach, Florida, with tonight's Revere Roundup daily market insight video. Market state, we continue to be in an uptrend. Check the trend gauge over here. We've got the three green arrows for the broad indexes. We track them across three time frames: the short term 21-day moving average, medium term 50-day moving average, long term 200-day moving average. Leaders with a yellow neutral arrow, green sub arrow. Good day today, all in all, for leadership. So, what happened today? Friday, let's go back to Friday. We had a non-farm payroll report that came out that was very weak. There was initial gap up strength in the market as yields fell, but that was sold pretty hard. Leaders underperformed, S&P 500 faded, and caught some people by surprise. But the market should never surprise you. It will do whatever it wants to do. It will do the opposite of what you think it's going to do. And it certainly seeks to confuse the masses. But today, just a tight inside day, kind of digesting the negative reversal from Friday. Inside day, just within a stone's throw of all-time highs. No reason to be bearish. You just stick to your stops on individual names and monitor the indexes for their overall health, as 3 out of 4 stocks will track what the overall market is doing. Not much to really report today. Tight inside day. PPI and CPI later in the week. Market probably looking ahead to those. So actually, 100% chance of a rate cut. 86% chance as of before I started this video of a 25 basis point, and a 14% chance of a 50-point basis cut. So those numbers that come out later in the week, PPI on Wednesday, CPI on Thursday, may shift those numbers one way or the other. Here are the numbers. 21 over 21 had a good day, up an average of 1.3%, 14 up, 7 down. The volatile Turbo-12 down by 0.5%. Split 6 up, 6 down. The Big 8 up by about 0.1%. The RG8s, our 8 growth ETF composite, up 0.60%. S&P 500 opened up 0.2, stayed in that tight range, basically closed right there. Equal weight negative by 0.1%. NASDAQ 100 gapped up about 0.4, closed just a little better than that, up 0.5%. Equal weight NASDAQ 100 up 1/3%. Dow up 1/4%. Mid caps barely negative. Russell slightly positive. Global 60/40 stock and bond up 0.38%. Our flagship GROTECTION portfolio up 0.19%. TURBO-12 with a great day. Biggest position, A Lab, had a great day, up 13% there. Propelled it to a 1.5% up day on Turbo. Nice job, Ted and Connor. Let's move on to, well, look what I'm showing here. NBIS. Right before I started the video, I saw some posts that they had an agreement with Microsoft to provide GPU services, and congratulations to anybody that owns this one. Gapped up on earnings and really didn't go anywhere after that. Well, after hours today, it's up 59% right now. So hats off if you own NBIS. Interestingly, the CEO recently sold $250 million worth of shares, so that it's a bit strange, but he's going to be okay, I think. Let's go to the indexes. Here's the S&P 500. We'll go to a 15-minute chart. You can see the gap up on Friday to all-time highs, negative reversal, bit of a rebound late morning and afternoon, gap up today, very tight range. That is a 1725 point range, less than 0.5% all day. So we've got levels to the upside that we're monitoring as a resistance breakthrough, that being the all-time high from Friday's gap up. And to the downside, we'll watch the 8 EMA and the 21 EMA, as we just recently regained those last week after a shakeout on Tuesday to kick off September. Let's go to the equal weight S&P very quickly. Tight day here too. Also inside, holding the 21-day moving average. NASDAQ 100, four straight up day. Near all-time highs. We're monitoring that as well. We always watch for an upside and a downside alert to tell us what's going on with stocks and with indexes. And that's part of our keys is really what the indexes are doing because we know the stocks will follow. But up a half of a percent on the NASDAQ 100 today. Let's go to the last of the big cap indexes, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, inside day above the 21-day moving average. Mid caps, just barely negative on the day, above the 8-day exponential moving average, and the Russell 2000 approaching that 2400 level, continuing to show relative strength for the past 4 weeks. Those are the major indexes. Let's check some inter-asset correlation. Here's the VIX, nice and tight with a 15 handle. We like that. How about the dollar? Dollar dropped to 5-week lows, probably related to that weak jobs report. And A weaker dollar is generally beneficial to stocks. Weaker dollars is also generally beneficial to precious metals. And here you see gold up for the fifth time in the last 6 sessions, up another 1.1% today. GDX broke out before gold did, up another 1.4%. Silver holding its breakout as well, up 0.81. Bitcoin hanging below the 21 and 50-day moving averages, so relative weakness there. Ethereum, this is held in Turbo and Grow, sitting on the 21-day moving average. How about bonds? Broad Bond Index BND. Look at that breakout. Started on Friday, continued more to the upside. Bond prices up means bond yields down. Again, a notable reaction to that weak jobs report. Here's the long bond TLT breaking out as well, which means you're going to see a breakdown on the yields. And there it is over the last 2 days. The 10-year dropping also. So that's our inter-asset correlation. Let's go to the tail of the tape. Indexes on the stochastics on the indexes and on the RG8 looking favorable. NASI RSI is in oversold and just treading water going sideways. Percent S&P percent of stocks above the 5-day is middling at 54. I mentioned PPI and CPI. We'll keep an eye on those. The keys were stayed above the 8 and the 21 on the S&P. We're going to change these up to the 21 and the all-time high for tomorrow, which is what we're seeing, which is what we already have on the NASDAQ 100. Above the 21, below all-time highs. Russell above the 8, below that 2400 level. Keep an eye on that 2400 level for the rest of the week. Day count from up to, with a 1-day consolidation, to up to and a second day of consolidation. 3 days above the 8 EMA, 4 days above the 21 EMA. Expectations remain positive as long as the S&P and the NASDAQ stay above their 21-day moving average. S&P 500 average true range over the last 21 days at a 0.81%, very beneficial for the market. Sectors today, semiconductors and software led. Foreign stocks and emerging markets also acted well, along with gold and gold stocks. To the downside, bunch of value sectors, energy, staples, utilities, healthcare, and real estate, as well as biotech. Portfolios, GROTECTION did a buy on Dash, very tight. We'll take a look at this chart in a minute. Very tight above some stacked moving averages, very low risk entry. 1.22% volatility adjusted beta, 4.86% balance at risk. Turbo added to their TEM position and started IREN. I think restarted it. We've both portfolios have been in that in the past. 1.85% volatility adjusted beta, 6.2% balance at risk. So bottom line on the day, tight inside action waiting on PPI and CPI later this week. We'll keep an eye, as I said, on the 21-day moving averages against all-time highs on the S&P and the NASDAQ, and on the Russell. It's more extended, so above the 8 EMA and 2400 on the upside there. Let's get to some charts and we'll start off with the Turbo 12 for this week. Only one change, only one dropped. Let's start off with Credo looking spectacular, up almost 5% on the day, up after hours as well. Rocket Lab regaining the 21-day moving average as with after 2 days below it on Friday or last week. Unity powering up to another high after its breakout on Friday. Pan American Silver making new highs. Here's Tempest that Ted and Connor added to today in Turbo, looking nice, still consolidating that big shakeout day that it had about 2 weeks ago. Here's herein sitting nice and tightly on the 21-day moving average, or sorry, on the 8-day moving average. Great low risk entry, and that is showing up after hours as well. It looks like this NBIS lit a fire beneath. No, that's not right. 80.22. I'm seeing it bid 80. Oh, that's herein I'm looking at. I'm confused. Never mind. Iren up 7 after hours. Is that right? Yes, that is right. Way to go, Iren. So, and this is that NBIS was a data center um, agreement with Microsoft. I've seen people all the time saying data centers are saturated. They're all going to sit empty, blah, blah, blah. Less than half of the companies in the S&P 500 mentioned AI in their most recent earnings report. Don't you think the other half of those are going to incorporate that into their operations slowly but surely? This is like the internet all over again. Don't sell it short. There, of course, will be pullbacks, but ignore the doomsayers. This is the one new addition, KMRN, Carmen Holdings, broke out from a nice flat base, recent IPO, broke out of a nice flat base last week, consolidating inside that big move today. That replaced KTOS, which broke down below the 21. WGS, tight action riding the 8 EMA higher. Sedge, staying above the 21. And Wayfair, do they have just what you need? Maybe they do. Pullback after 4 days up. Bloom Energy pullback after making new high. Great run there, just a little extended, pulling back to the 8 EMA. And METC reversing after a new high last week. So that's the Turbo 12. Let's go to the 2121 list. Two new ones. Let me show you what was cut first of all. Celsius. Um, Interesting reaction always. And like I said, confusing the masses with the market, right? So here's the gap up on earnings, ran straight up for about 2 weeks, consolidating along the 8. Pepsi announced that they were taking a more active distribution role and I think purchased more of the company there. So what's the reaction? You expect it to go higher, right? Well, sideways for 3 days and then breaks below the 8, breaks below the 21. A story out today was that an activist investor wants Pepsi to simplify their holdings and spin some things off. Anyway, it was down on big volume. And like I said, just when you think you've got it all figured out, sometimes the news ends up being a sell the news event. That's looking like the case here on Celsius. Still great numbers, no question about it. Recently bought a new product line, that coconut water, which I think is disgusting, but that's a different story. Um, but Celsius down breaking the 21-day moving average. And since this is a 21 over 21 list, it can't be on it. Boeing, um, I took this off from relative weakness. It did regain the 8 by the end of the day, but I wanted to make room for a couple of new names, and we'll go through those as we get there. So first off, the 2121, what we own, SE, made a new high and then squatted today, but that was after 3 days up and an undercut and reclaim of the 21. Nothing wrong with that action. Mongo tight right around the top of that flat base, back not flat base, but 1 week plate that it formed. Reddit reversed, made a new high and reversed back to the 8 EMA. Snow, after its big earnings move up, pulling back, still above the 8-day moving average. Tesla, we bought this last week, new high and reversed, but still above the 8. DoorDash, one of the new 21 over 21 list as we bought this week. Look at the tight action over the past 3 weeks. 821 and 50-day moving average all stacked up. Started to move out early in the day, squatted after that. Uh, Volume was heavier early in the day, but very tight stop on this, very obvious range. It's either going to work or it's not going to, and the numbers continue to be fantastic for DoorDash. A-Lab, look at that big breakout. Ted and Connor, as I said, their biggest position in Turbo, up 13%. Great job, guys. Arista Networks consolidating near new highs. GDX continuing to make new highs. Seagate blasted out of that tight range and continues to move higher. SoFi bounced off the 21 last week twice. AppLovin with a gap up today, added to the S&P 500. Congrats there. Carvana, tight action above the 21. Credo making a newer high. Here's Tempest. We already looked at that. Bloom Energy. We already looked at that. Futu reversed against 200 resistance, slightly up today. First Solar, tight action along the 8 EMA. Cloudflare making a new high after bouncing off the 21 last week. Take Two breaking out of this nice flat base on above average volume. And Valero bouncing at the 8 EMA. The second one that was added to the official 2121 list this week was Tesla, which was bought last week, wasn't a member of the 21 over 21, but it sure is now because we own it. Let's take a look at a couple of the things that we still own that were under their 21, not under, that were, yes, under their 21 days. NVIDIA, under their 50-day as well. Had a little bit of a bounce today after weakness last week. Also, let's take a look at Hood. We sold half of this on Friday, getting stopped out. This was also added to the S&P 500, up 16% today. So small position in this still, but a benefit of it. Regain the moving averages. Now we'll see if it has more juice to continue higher. Did I finish this? I believe I did. So that's your 21 over 21 list. And a couple things that we own that were below their 21 last week, obviously regaining it with the S&P 500 add back today, that being Hood. And what else do I want to point out? Anything else had a good day? Let's see. GEV. Look at the chart on this. We're seeing a lot of uh, AI data center, alternative energy, prior leaders led during the leg up, undercut, tried to reclaim the 21-day moving average, had tough last week because last week was all in all not a positive week for leaders, but a lot of them trying to put in a bottom and come back up through this 50-day and 21-day moving average. As Connor pointed out on the podcast last week, watch that, but also watch the relative strength line against this orange line here. That's the 21-day moving average of the relative strength line. We want relative strength to be in our favor as well as the price action be in our favor against the moving average. And with that, I will wrap it. As always, like to hear from you. The email's don@revereasset.com. The phone's 855-REAL-WEALTH. That's 855-732-5932. If you're interested in becoming a client, you can click contact us on the website, or you can email my partner, Dan Stewart, dan@revereasset.com. Our flagship portfolio, GROTECTION, and the more aggressive sister portfolio, TURBO-TECTION, are designed to do what? Dual mandate: grow assets during uptrends, protect them during downtrends. We are the most transparent advisor that you will find. We've got buy and sell rules that we discuss constantly. Avoiding big losses, both in individual names and in your portfolio, is key, especially if you're approaching retirement. You can't afford to have your nest egg take a major hit. We specialize in protecting the downside and growing the upside, depending on the market tides. And with that, I will wrap it for Monday, September 8th. This is Don Vandenbord with Revere Asset Management, telling it like it is. It's not how much you make in the market, it's about how much you can keep. Thanks for listening and have a great day.